Bregenz is what every set designer dreams of creating. Everybody wants to work at Bregenz. The photographs of Bregenz are now dispersed around the world because of social media, because of the internet. Everybody knows, when I say everybody, the Beyoncés and the Kanye Wests and the Jay-Z's, they all know the skeleton in the book. They know the big bust. They know the cafe table. These images have penetrated the culture. So everybody's aware of them. And it's an extraordinary opportunity to create architecture that endures for 2 years as a piece of scenery. Normally my material is time. So normally I start with time. And maybe the stage starts empty. Maybe then something comes, then something else comes. And at the end, the net result is all these images in the audience's head. Here you're making public sculpture. So you need to condense all that experience of working with time into one gesture that can be read in 1 second in a photograph. Well, it was a process of iteration. I started with many different gestures. I had the cloak of a toreador swirling. I had a bull with its horns. I had a dancer. There was a flower. We went through many, 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 many. And in the end, we almost, in a spirit of exasperation, threw a souvenir packet of cards from Seville airport tourist shop into the air. And we realized this gesture of chance, of taking a chance, of looking for liberty, of looking for freedom, of saying, what happens if I throw up all the rules? What happens if I tear up the rule book, if I throw everything in the air? Where will it land? And that gesture seemed to be absolutely right for this piece. It's always great to do a piece the second time because you learn so much. What I learned, I have to say, the first time I did Carmen, is the most important thing, forget the set design, is that you fall in love with that performer. And ultimately, whatever I do, whatever Kasper Holten and we do for the Bühnenbild, in the end, it's all on the shoulders of that performer. That's what I discovered last time. I'm so excited. In fact, I've just seen it, literally. I've seen it 2 minutes ago. And it's literally like having a 3-year gestation period of a child. And suddenly someone said, here's the child. I'm really pleased. It's quite a technological feat and an engineering feat to make something so heavy look so light. And to make something so structured look so free of structure. That's very difficult, and the team here have done it really well. In my studies of Bregenz, which I have studied closely, I know every single design, I've looked at every single video, my feeling is the ones that have most impacted on me are the ones that really play with the surreal, that say, what happens if I put a book or a skeleton, or if I put a giant chair, or a giant table, or a huge bust? What happens if I put that in this extraordinary lake nature setting? So playing with scale was very important to me. And I think all humans respond to the surreal. Everybody responds to playing with scale. And it's always fascinating to people to see a giant hand and a small human being. So I wanted to start from there. They're doing a very different job. The team here the technical team here have to do a very different job to most theatre teams in that they're not really making theatre, they're making architecture, they're making public sculpture. They have to deal with the wind, the rain for 2 years, the weather. So they don't work with the kind of theatrical builders. They work with industrial engineers, civil engineers. They work with people who normally build buildings. So the conversation and the terms of engagement are very different. But the great thing is they're concentrating on just this production. Most houses are thinking of 3 or 4. This whole team here is really focused on this one production, which is a real privilege. Yeah, I mean, it's a real consideration, not least the tide. I really hadn't thought before about this 1.5 meter differentiation in the tide, and that's where a lot of the performance is happening. And yet the difference means we really need to make a whole lift go up and down because we want to interact with the water. And I realized why it's hard to interact with the water here, because the water's never in the same place every night. So I learned a lot about tides. Actually, this is most comparable to the work I do in stadia. So if I'm designing a big concert in a stadia, they will perform in the rain. They have to perform, you know, in a stadium, usually 90,000 people have turned up. And they've come to see a performance. You're not going to cancel it if it's raining. So if you're Beyonce, you're going to play, you're going to sing, you're going to dance in the rain, in heels. You just have to do it. And you're going to get wet, and the audience is going to get wet. And there's a joy to that, actually. There's a joy to being together outside. And funnily enough, the first show I saw here, I remember watching the swallow at the beginning of the performance, just tweeting away, flying. And I thought, wow, what a privilege to make a show while there's a swallow, you know, dancing about in between it, doing something completely unplanned. And that's the beauty of working here in nature, actually.